begin with breaking news out of Sydney, and police have raided several homes at Marylands in the city's west. Nine's Gabrielle Boyle joins us live from one of those scenes. Gabby, what more can you tell us?
Good morning, Davina. Well, I join you from Lockwood Street here in Marylands, and I'm going to get my cameraman to pan across to give you some perspective on just what's going on here this morning. A team of heavily armed police have been at this property for a couple of hours now, and they're carefully going through a black Jeep that's parked at the front of this property. Certainly, we know police have raided this property on previous occasions. They're carefully, painstakingly going through that black Jeep. They've taken the back spare wheel out. They've gone through the holders at the side of the car, emptying every crevice, everything inside that car to just see what they can find inside. Certainly we know this is in response to the shooting death of police worker Curtis Chang. We know that occurred in Parramatta back in October, and we've had a police operation ever since. This house is the house of Talal Al-Madeen. Of course, he has been arrested for the supply of the weapon involved in that alleged incident. He is currently in custody as we speak. We've had two homes raided in Marylands in the last couple of hours by police. Earlier today we spoke to one man who left the property. Here's a little of what he had to say when I spoke to him outside of this family home. What are police doing here this morning? Any comment about why police would be at your house this morning?
You say if Talal had anything to do with the Parramatta shooting?
So as you can see behind me, Davina, this is an operation that looks to be continuing for some time yet. Police even climbing underneath that car to get a good look at every angle to find any clues that may further their investigation.
The latest on 9 News across the day with that investigation. Gabrielle Boyle, thank you. Well, a Queensland man will front court today charged with murder following a road rage incident in Brisbane South. Nine's Ashton Krukellis filed this report.
This incident happened just after 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon near where the Gateway and the M1 merge at 8 Mile Plains in Brisbane South. It is alleged two motorists pulled over and became involved in a physical fight. It's alleged a 36-year-old man assaulted a 50-year-old man, causing him to fall onto the road and into the path of an oncoming truck, which struck and killed him. Obviously, this came as a huge shock to all the other drivers on the road, especially the driver of that truck.
Naturally very, very upset. He did everything within his power to try and avoid the situation. Unfortunately, as much as he's tried, it has ended up in a fatality.
The incident was captured on camera, both on a dash cam inside the truck and also on a traffic camera that was on a nearby overpass. Police spent several hours last night reviewing that footage. They also spent a lot of time talking to witnesses and questioning the 36-year-old man. As a result, he was charged late last night with murder. He's in the watch house right now, waiting to face the Brisbane Magistrates Court this morning.
A teenage boy has died in hospital more than 24 hours after his car was crushed by a truck in Melbourne's north. The 15-year-old was a passenger in the sedan, which collided with a semi-trailer at Coburg on Monday. 3 other teenagers remain in a critical condition. A crime scene has been established at a home in Sydney's south, which was engulfed in flames overnight. An elderly woman was home at the time, but she managed to escape the blaze, suffering just minor smoke inhalation. Firefighters managed to contain the fire and stop it from spreading to neighbouring properties. Well, emergency crews remain at the scene of a potentially toxic fire at a scrapyard in South Townsville this morning. That blaze broke out at Herbert Street at the property late yesterday. A large amount of plastic and scrap metal fuelled that fire, creating thick plumes of black smoke. Police are asking the public to avoid the area and close all windows and doors if you live in the area as a precaution. Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull has flown home from the UN Climate Change Conference to some developing controversies among 2 of his cabinet ministers. Nine's Charles Croucher filed this report.
Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull flew back into the country for what he would deem a successful trip of Malta for the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting and a climate change summit in Paris with the world's leaders. He flew back into some controversy, though. Deputy Leader Julie Bishop is under fire from some in the Labor Party for her use of the private transport given to ministers in the government. She chartered one of the private VIP jets from Perth to take her back to Canberra for ministerial meetings in October. Of more concern, though, for the government is the controversy involving Special Minister of State Mal Brough. Yesterday, Minister Brough said that 60 Minutes had edited a piece last year to make it seem like he had asked James Ashby to procure Peter Slipper's diary during the then Speaker's controversies. last night, in our report on Channel 9, we showed clearly there was no editing involved, or in the limited editing certainly didn't change what the question entailed. Today, the Labor Shadow Attorney General, Mark Dreyfus, is calling once again on Mr Brough to resign, and if he doesn't resign, you can expect the pressure to be ramped up on Malcolm Turnbull to stand him aside while federal police investigations into Mr Brough continue. There are 2 days of Parliament left this year. This issue will dominate both of them.
Anti-terror investigators in Turkey are desperately searching for those responsible for an explosion on the Istanbul metro this morning. Authorities say it was most likely a pipe bomb planted inside an electrical transformer beside a railway station. Luckily, no one was killed, but 5 people were hurt. Indonesian investigators say a faulty rudder system as well as human error are to blame for the fatal AirAsia plane crash last year. 162 people were killed when the Airbus A320 plunged into the Java Sea on the 28th of December, less than halfway into a 2-hour flight to Singapore. Authorities say when the rudder malfunctioned, the pilot cut power to the main computer, attempting to reset it before losing control of the aircraft. Oscar Pistorius could be back behind bars as early as tomorrow if South Africa's Supreme Court of Appeals accepts the advice from prosecutors and agrees to have him charged with murder. The Paralympic gold medalist is serving just 1/5 of a 5-year sentence after being found guilty of culpable homicide over the shooting of his girlfriend Reeva Steenkamp. He's now under house arrest at his uncle's house mansion in Pretoria, but a murder conviction could put him in jail for 15 years. Japan's whaling fleet has set out for the Antarctic to resume this season's hunt. Crews have been warned to prepare for more violent encounters with conservation groups in the face of strong international criticism.
The writing's on the hull, but it doesn't fool anyone. The Japanese ships may proclaim in English that they're carrying out research, but it will involve killing more than 300 minke whales. They were sent on their way with good wishes from the family of crew members and from Japanese officials, but the rest of the world takes a dim view of their activities. In recent years, the Southern Ocean summer has seen violent clashes between the Japanese and conservation groups. And crew members were warned before they left that things might get rough again.
They are strongly against the resumption of our research whaling programme and have said things that could be interpreted as vowing to obstruct our operations. But the Ministry of Fisheries is coordinating with the appropriate ministries to ensure the safety of this mission.
Japan calls this scientific whaling. They're trying to prove that the whale population is big enough to sustain regular hunting.
It makes no sense whatsoever, and when the World Court says no, they're committed to going down there and will be committing a crime.
Last year, the country bowed to the wishes of the International Court of Justice and simply carried out a head count of whales. But hunting will resume in the weeks ahead, though the number caught will be 1/3 of the 1,000 taken in previous years.
Victorian drivers could soon be stripped of more demerit points under planned changes by the state's peak motoring body. The move aims to target speeding motorists by increasing the number of points for an offence while reducing the cost of fines. Despite a heavy police presence, drivers continue to ignore warnings and exceed speed limits. 234 people have died on Victoria's roads so far this year. Prince Harry has spent some time with sport, playing with children as he continues his tour of South Africa. The royal is seen here putting his flag football skills on show in Durban. He also met government officials to talk about wildlife poaching. Newborn white tiger quintuplets have taken their first steps at a Chinese zoo. Right now, each of the fuzzy 5 is about the size of your average pet cat, but they're growing fast and a lack of coordination isn't ruining their enthusiasm for a bit of fun. The zoo is now home to 37 endangered Bengal tigers. We'll check today's forecast for you now. It'll be mostly sunny in Perth, hot, 35 degrees. Adelaide clearing showers are forecast. Melbourne and Sydney could see a shower or two. A shower or two for Hobart as well, mostly fine for Canberra. Showers and storms for Brisbane reaching 29 degrees. Tomorrow, clearing showers in Brisbane with a top of 26 degrees. It'll be overcast in Sydney with a top of 23 on the way. Clear skies for Canberra and overcast for Melbourne reaching a top of 21 degrees. For today's